Got
That was
it?
really funny that you said that as the countdown was happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
Just to make us, I guess,
So
laugh and giggle a little.
I guess I should let you lead.
All right. We're here for something near and dear to our heart. And when I say that, I mean probably yours, but something that I'm increasingly interested in. I think entrepreneurship really starts to bring out this topic today in a lot of funny and different ways. Starting Kinvey and getting the ball rolling, we've started to encounter a whole bunch of issues in this space. And the space is really taxes, bookkeeping, accounting, and I guess like the merger of those core business functions with technology in a country and with a landscape that I think has made it quite difficult to kind of like accelerate the efficiency that we've gained in so many different other parts of our financial lives. And we aspire to. I think I'll let you open it up and maybe give a little bit more of your origin story on this topic and why we want to talk about it today. But I'm definitely excited to learn more from.
The guru, I love it. You know, it's funny. You spent all that time doing an introduction to like the real thing we're going to talk about, when really I was asking you to like introduce like, hey, this is episode 2, and I'm in
Yeah,
beautiful Vancouver
yeah,
Island, British Columbia. Where are you right now? What are you
I
doing?
am. I'm in Parksville, which is just a little kind of beach town. I don't know, I guess like around Mid Island. And I came here as a kid, and I've brought my kids. Hopefully, you can't hear them too badly. But yeah, I grew up kind of frolicking on the beach. My grandparents lived here, and so I thought that it would be good to bring them back. So far, so good. Weather's a little overcast. Out on the beach today, the surf goes out like multiple kilometers. So you can literally walk out as far as the eye can see, and yeah, nice peaceful retreat here.
So, so you're a busy business owner on vacation with his kids, but business continues and you need to do your bookkeeping and you're spending money and you need to make sure there's enough cash in the bank to pay our expenses. It's interesting, like you alluded to this earlier. The first business I started was called Every, and it was in 2017. And we actually, the initial premise of the business was to build what you would call a BAS today on top of some Canadian credit unions. Obviously, that wasn't going to work very well. And so where we ended up was building a neobank, a digital bank in the United States for solopreneurs. We were thinking like freelancers and consultants, basically any non-employer business. And we did it in the US because we figured, okay, it's 10x the market. And it's funny, I've almost had to come full circle from that moment now. Obviously, Kinvey is a product of like those experiences building fintech businesses in 2017 through to today. Um, but as a business owner, as one of those quote unquote solopreneurs now, you and I sort of two business owners, no employees, relatively simple case. I'm still spending. I like this stuff. Out of the two of us, I like this stuff more, so I do it because I enjoy doing it. But I'm spending, 5 hours a week on this stuff.
Yeah.
I stop people in the streets, which embarrasses my wife. And there was a gardener, and I just started to ask them some questions about like how much time do they spend on bookkeeping and accounting and tax compliance and stuff. She said 10 hours a week. 10 hours a week. She's got one crew. It's not a massive business. She's spending 10 hours a week on this stuff. So, back when we started Every, which eventually was acquired by way of accounting, it was the acquisition was exciting because we were dreaming of a world where your operating account and your spending and your payments processing and loans, all of that data would exist sort of vertically integrated in some place where it was automatically categorized and your accountant had access to and effectively turn the business owner experience into a swipe right. And we're still not there. I'm like, now that I'm back in it again, I'm like, I want to be there. So that's kind of that's the origin, I guess, of.
Well, it's just funny how deep the problem is because especially for, I mean, there's a lot of folks who have gone through it, and then there's a whole bunch that maybe haven't and are sitting here thinking like, what's the big deal? I'd say that it really starts with this huge fear of just, I've got to start remembering to take pictures of my receipts. And when you really get into it, that's just like such the tip of the iceberg. And I mean, listen, some of these apps actually don't even nail taking photos of the receipt very well. It's like you kind of hope that you just take a picture of the receipt and everything downstream just like magically happens. I remember getting started and, first couple months of just taking pictures and feeling really good, only to then log in and realize that I had a lot more work to do. And so I guess like talk a little bit more about, the problem and like where does the problem come from? And like why specifically are we still living in a world that that individual you stopped on the street. You said the street. I bet you were like, doing a dump run, like dropping off of, some old stuff from your garage at the dump. Because you love to talk to random people.
She was working at our house,
Okay.
but yeah,
Okay. All right.
she was on.
Yeah. So just like, why are we still living in this world?
No, I don't know that I have a perfect answer for that, but for me, like it all comes down to the data. And my God, like another conversation where we're bumping up against the concept of like owning your own data and open banking. But it comes down to data. Where is the data created and how many different places is it created? I've been seeing some more Canadian companies pop up in the accounting and bookkeeping and business data universe over the last 3 to 6 months. I guess I started to pay a little bit more attention, which is kind of how we stumbled on the conversation. um, and I said this to Cato at Loop the other day, and he looked at me like and just laughed. He was like, yeah, people have been trying to solve this problem forever, and the reality is you can't solve accounting. You just have to go solve problems for businesses very in very good niches. And I think that's true, right? Like, if you're an e-commerce seller, there are companies like A2X Accounting, which is Toronto based. Very specific problem, very urgent problem, because these e-commerce sellers internationally are having tons of tax compliance issues. So the first step is to like get the data in the right place, in the right format that somebody can action on. Um, and but still, I kind of zoom back out and I'm like, what about the smallest of small businesses? Like that's how I view what we do. It's two people. It's a handful of customers. It's very niche. And we're a digital small business, and physical small businesses may have slightly different needs, but this long tail is just so underserved still. And I just wonder when that becomes part of the productivity conversation in this country. On the personal side, if you live in Sweden, your taxes get filed automatically. And when you log into the CRA here, you can see that, Wealthsimple and BMO and, the other solution providers that you use have already transmitted the data to the CRA in the form of some tax form. And I'm really excited to live in a world where we start to solve some of this for small businesses, because I cannot imagine somebody spending 5 to 10 hours a week on this every week, if their passion isn't in and around this, which mine is. I like this. I think the two most valuable courses I took in university were managerial and financial accounting.
I mean, like, what would you pay to get those 5 to 10 hours a week back? Right.
This is exactly it. Today we pay for QuickBooks $50 a month. We pay for a bookkeeper 250 bucks a month. We get half the money back on QuickBooks, and so we're already paying $250 to $300 a month. You still manage cash flow in a spreadsheet. We don't really have that problem because we don't have a lot of ins and outs, but you'd still manage cash flow in a spreadsheet. You're still getting an
Just
outstanding
a couple
item.
simple guys, hey? Just a couple simple
Yeah,
guys like us.
simple guys on opposite ends of the country sharing a love for fintech. I could go on. I think there's a world where you're paying $500 a month to make this completely go away.
Anybody you see out there who's really out there actually trying to connect both ends of the spectrum and build this fulsome solution? what about Bench? I mean, they're still out there, but is that what they're? I thought that was like automated bookkeeping. There's like actually a human involved on your account, right?
Correct. Yeah, and I think there's a bunch of examples of that. I've used a couple of the big ones in Canada, in previous businesses. Live CA provides bookkeeping and accounting as a very well managed service. But the workflow is still broken. Bench, same thing. They try to just like put it all into one place and automate as much of it as they possibly can, including the communication with their customers. There's one called Cedar that I've been looking at lately, actually Vancouver Island based. It's a husband and wife team, I believe, out of Victoria. And I've been trialing them alongside our existing stack, which is like QuickBooks, Loop, all of our operating accounts, and our card spend is with Loop. But I've used Float in the past, and I have a Vault account, and I'm trying that too. Um, you know, it's Loop, QuickBooks, and then a bookkeeper, and then we have a separate accountant of the bookkeeper. And so what Cedar is trying to do is collapse all of that, which is, I think, a very noble pursuit, very, very challenging pursuit. I think they would have to target a very specific niche, and maybe that niche is us, and maybe it's not. Maybe there's a better niche. I don't know, and so that's a set of product decisions that they'll have to make. But that one got me more excited, more interesting. I think longer run, and maybe there's someone we can find to come and talk to us about this. I think longer run though, the macro solution has to be around business identity and the ability to connect my business identity and my business's data to another system. I don't think it's going to be like in consumer banking where we think about open banking as I want to, share my data from RBC to someplace over here. I think the business owner is probably going to take a much more active role in collecting the data into a spot that is specifically for this. Because as a business owner today, actually, we don't have an account with ShakePay set up for the business yet. And ShakePay accepts business clients. I would be more than willing to give ShakePay access to like a trust package about Kinvi that included all of the information about the beneficial owners and the ownership of the business, and included all of the information about prior tax filings, whatever it may be. I would do that today. So I wonder if like business identity is really where the rubber hits the road here. And I would love to talk to anybody in Canada that has, a very deep perspective on that.
I think that's a really good point. I mean, just from my kind of basic feel of the space and the tools that I've used so far, I think a lot of things in this world are solved by better design. I'd like to encourage some of the players out there, to just like bring some better design principles into their apps. I get the transactions in there and I'm sitting there, I got to categorize them and I'm doing 4 or 5 clicks, per entry. I just want to, and I feel like I have to do it, on my computer. I don't feel like I can just like, in transit somewhere, start categorizing transactions. I mean, you said swipe right, swipe left. I just want to do that on a transaction and have it go away, and get reconciled and like get to the next part of the funnel. And so I guess I'm like a plus one for, better design in some of these apps to help, solve our everyday problems.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I think one of the things I was thinking about. Well, I think one of the things I was thinking about before we spoke today was that maybe FreshBooks and Wave do almost solve this problem. And I worked at Wave, so I should have been more tuned into this, but maybe they almost solve this problem for our niche. But you have to solve it 100% in order for it to work really, really well. Because if I sign up for Wave or FreshBooks and I still need an accountant, that accountant or bookkeeper is more than likely going to say you should use QuickBooks or Xero. If I'm paying that person $250 a month and they can make the problem go away, I don't care what the software is. I don't want to leave it there today. What's the plan for the rest of the day? You're on vacation. We can't do more than
Yeah.
20 minutes.
I mean, it's going to be, we've got a whole bunch of mini golf that's
I love
planned.
it.
things are getting serious over here. There's actually a couple competing courses, totally different styles of tracks. One's more, I'd say, like Disney themed, and then the other one is more like West Coast modern. And so one's like in the trees, the other one's got little caricatures at every hole. So I'm gonna have to report back in terms of not only who wins, but which course is superior. And we'll actually see if we even get through the round because my 4-year-old refuses to use a club and just throws balls. So we'll see what happens.
Who's the famous Canadian course designer? Doug Carrick? Is that his
I'd
name?
like to say Stanley Thompson personally,
Stanley
but
Thompson. There you go. Yeah, I heard Stanley Thompson designed the Disney one.
yeah.
All right,
Well,
man.
what's funny is I don't even Stanley Thompson probably isn't even Canadian. I think he just like designed some courses in Canada. But anyway,
Yeah, we'll cut that part. Sweet man. Enjoy the rest of the day. Enjoy the vacation. I'll chat with you tomorrow.
awesome. Talk to you later.
Bye.